Sherry. And then. Sure, it's not like we're going to say, sure. You stop recording.
I ended the meeting.
No. No, just leave it, because that's an meeting. I don't want to do that.
It's not.
I don't think you started the agreement, did you?
No, I'm.
Good evening, everyone. This is the regular monthly meeting. I'm going to call it to order. Regular monthly meeting of the Town of Clinton Zoning Board of Appeals on Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. at the Town Hall. We will start with seating the members. Sherry, could you take attendance, please?
Tom Schultz. Dennis Armstrong. Robert Corson. Bertrand Schmitz. Lori Jaffe.
Present.
Maureen Noonan. Teresa O'Rourke.
Present.
Okay, we need to have alternates appointed because we have several members missing and we need to be able to have a full complement. So I'm going to appoint Terry O'Rourke for Tom Schultz.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Just make a note.
and then I'm going to, on the record, that Robert Corson joined entered at 7:05, 7:06. And then I'm going to appoint Maureen Noonan for Dennis. Okay. So then we have one. So then we don't- All right, and then, also, yes, and also we need to appoint, I need to appoint an acting secretary because Dennis Fincher, I'm sorry, because Tom Schultz is not here. So I'm going to ask Bertrand Schmitz to be our acting secretary tonight. And, could you please read the legal notice of public hearing?
Okay, Town of Clinton Zoning Board of Appeals, Andrews Memorial Town Hall, 54 East Main Street, Clinton, Connecticut. Town of Clinton legal notice of public hearing. The Town of Clinton Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a hybrid public hearing on Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 7:00 on Zoom and in the Rose Room of the William Stratton Andrews Memorial Town Hall, 4 East Main Street, Connecticut. Consider the following: ZBA 24-1, 11 Lockbourne Drive, Robert Q. Crew applicant, Robert and Gretchen Crew owners applicant for variations of section 2.11.6 front setback, 26.11.8 setback other than front and rear setback, and 29.2.1 expansion of a non-conforming structure additional or an attached garage and bedroom above. Assessors map 54, block 46, block 28, zone R30. That said, hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard and written communications received. The applications and accompanying maps, correspondence are available for public inspection in the land use office of Town Hall. Lori Jaffe, Chairman, Town of Clinton, CBA, email the Harbor News to appear 2 times on July 4th, 24, and July 11th.
Thank you, Virgil. Next on the agenda is minutes. And first, we have review and approval of the February 21st, 2024 regular meeting minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve those minutes. Okay, and a second.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion about the minutes? Anyone? Okay. Let's take a vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes? Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, with one abstention, carry over. So the motion passed. Okay. The next section is chair comments. I'd like to welcome our new alternate member, Terry O'Rourke, to the board. Welcome. And also, may I ask the applicant how you pronounce your last name?
Seaweed.
Seaweed?
Yeah.
I will try to remember. Receipt of applications is next on the agenda. Have we received any applications since the filing of the agenda?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public hearing. Public hearing, ZBA 24-1, 11 Lockbourne Drive, Robert Seaweed, applicant Robert and Gretchen Seaweed, owners. Application for variances of sections 26.11.6 front setback, 26.11.8 setback other than a front or rear setback, and 29.2.1 expansion of a non-conforming structure for an attached garage with a bedroom above. Assessors map 54, block 46, lot 28, zone R30. Record ZBA 24.1. I'll just briefly explain the order of the public hearing tonight. The applicant will present your case. The board will then have an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. The staff will have an opportunity to make comments, if any. We will address the record, any materials that have been filed that are part of the record. And the next will be, next on the agenda will be if there's any public testimony. If there is anyone in favor to speak in favor, opposed or neutral. At this point, I don't believe there's a member of the public, but there might be at some point. So when we get to that, I will see if there's a member of the public. And then the board will decide if the public hearing should be closed tonight. And to answer that question, we ask if the board has received enough information to reach a decision. And if so, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing, and then we'll take a vote on it. Okay, so with that, the applicant is listed as Mr. Seaweed. So if you are going to be presenting, please go ahead.
Please come closer.
Yeah, a little closer. Thank you.
My wife and I are owners and occupants of the residential structure located at 11 Lockbourne Drive, Connecticut. Our home is a single-story, single-family, pre-existing non-conforming structure. It's our intention to construct an attached two-car garage with a master bedroom above. This will increase our livable space, overall safety and security of our vehicles, as well as increase our profit. In order to maintain the original three-bedroom classification, the non-load-bearing demising wall will be removed, thus combining two extremely small bedrooms. I stand before you today to request variance governing the front and side setbacks from the lot line. The hardships I'd like to present are as follows. The lot and structure predate the inception of the zoning requirements and regulations. The shape and topography of the lot for being long, narrow, and tapered. The configuration of the structure on the lot has the house 9.2 feet off the narrowest point portion of the lot. The septic system is located directly behind the structure, which prohibits rear expansion. The lot is roughly 33,500 square feet, roughly 3/4 of an acre. For the A2 survey done by Gessick and Associates, and has zoning classification of an R30. Just under half of the property is underneath Bushy Pond and is not classified as usable land. Based upon section 26.5.5 of the Clinton zoning regulations, the aforementioned 16,500 square feet underwater is not eligible for use when calculating the lot area in relation to the lot coverage. Review of the zoning regulations 26.5.5. I had to have the proposed and existing values of the zoning requirements table revised and resubmitted. This resulted in exceedance of the maximum allowable ground coverage. I revised and resubmitted once again to include additional demolition of 2 fairly new impervious paper patios. This demolition will decrease the overall proposed ground coverage to below the allowable maximum 8%. The combination of the hardships discussed are imposed by conditions completely out of my control. All the revisions I had made for the drawings and the application have all been submitted as attachments in the application for review. I've also attached 3 examples of variances showing that historically the district has made exceptions in the presence of these hardships. And I do understand and very aware of the legal hardships, and that personal hardships can't be taken into consideration. But would just like to share one to justify my persistency throughout this process. I've had 4 insurance claims on my vehicles that have exceeded $20,000 worth of repairs, all resulting from rodent damage to wiring harnesses, heater systems, either rendering them inoperable or leaving malfunctioning safety devices, such as the airbags and brake lights. I basically ended up with nests underneath the hood of my car and within the panels of the car from squirrels, chipmunks, field mice, and such. Building the garage. The safer place for me to repair and maintain my vehicles and also protect these squirrels, chipmunks, etc. And I thank you for allowing me the time to provide you with this information.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. At this time, I will go around and ask if board members have any comments or questions. I will ask.
At the moment, I don't have anything, no.
I see in your plans here that the garage is set back from the house, is that to help with the front setback as much as you could? So that the garage should-
Correct. So, I can stand under the.
Maureen? Terry?
Okay, hi. Could you please explain how your hardship is any different than the lot in your neighborhood?
I would have to say that a lot of the lots in my neighborhood it should already have garages. The shape of mine has to be very thin in the front, very wide in the back. Most of the other properties in the neighborhood are a square type shape, where they're just as wide as there. And mine's on a little more of a steeper hill location, maybe it was 7 feet.
One of the requirements in the regulations for us to consider is that to allow a variance, we have to ensure that the situation is unique to your property, and unlike others in the neighborhood. It would appear, looking at the GIS, that there's quite a few lots in the neighborhood that have similar frontage. So very few of them, about a third of them meet the 130 square foot, 130 foot. So it kind of makes your property similar to 60% approximately of your neighbors. So I did notice that the system is to the rear and that you're trying to keep the property on a existing paved, not driveway area, you're trying to put your new extension up on that area to keep your, I would imagine, is it no other opportunity to go back where your neighbors are?
Now, so the septic system, which I do. The septic system. There are. Which is us, which if I actually more than 4 feet, I would be intruding on the. Portion of the septic. System.
And, you have about 8 feet of workable space to to the area that you're trying to set up the garage area and your extra bedrooms with the 3 bedrooms. No other kind of feasible plans could be developed to stay within the set.
Within the 8 feet.
I don't have any other questions.
I have some comments rather than questions. And in your explanation of hardship, and some of these comments reflect what Terry has said. You state that it's a narrow slope lot, configuration of structure, topography, location, system, lake property includes a large amount of underwater. I don't see anything in the explanation of hardship that sets forth anything that is unique to your property, which is not exhibited by other properties in the area. The property is not so narrow that it cannot be put to a reasonable use. So that is not a legal hardship under section 13.2.2A of the zoning regulations. In addition, buying a home of a certain configuration or buying property, some of which is underwater, both of which are observable at the time of purchase of property. I view that and believe that that was self-created by the owner and therefore cannot constitute a hardship under section 13.2.3. So I don't see anything in your explanation that constitutes a legal hardship. And again, in looking at your project description, and you did address some of those matters when you presented, which I appreciated. It sets forth information that is not in your explanation part of hardship section, but I'd like to just briefly address it because it seems that, in my view, you perhaps are relying on some of those matters to show a hardship because you presented them tonight. Although perhaps unfortunate for your financial bottom line, damage to vehicles, wiring, cost of multiple insurance claims, and you'd also mentioned wanting to accommodate a growing family. They might well be personal hardships, but they don't constitute legal hardships under section 13.2.1A of the zoning regulations, which would support the granting of the variance. Also, one of the documents you filed in the record, it's called a hardship comparison, and I believe you filed it on May 20th of 2024, states that similar properties, in quotes, in the area have constructed additions and some have required a variance. And I believe you submitted 3 approved variances or portions of a record of 3 approved variances that were supposedly based on, quote, similar hardships, unquote. However, I looked at those documents in the record and I believe that they're distinguishable from this record. The first one is 170 Glenwood, which was a single-story addition. I believe the portion of the document that you submitted was, I believe, 1 paragraph. I didn't see any evidence offered regarding what the requested side setback was, what it was that was granted, the number of feet. Second address, 29 Delwood. It was just a reporting of a mention that a variance had been granted. I didn't see any information given about the hardship whatsoever. And similarly with 16 Lockwood, there was no information given in the single sheet of paper that you submitted to say what the hardship was. So I didn't see any basis for concluding that those were similar hardships to the hardship that you are seeking to present before us. And also, these decisions are not binding on the board's decision tonight. The board, if it has a full record of, of previous variances that were granted, in some instances 2 decades ago, I believe one of these was in 2003. That might be a different matter, but, what you submitted, I don't believe are binding on the board. And we look at each application as it is submitted to us. So in sum, I don't believe that this application has demonstrated a hardship under our zoning regulations that would support the granting of the variances that you see. Does the staff have any comments, questions?
How much questions now, you have a staff report in the record that just sort of details the variances being requested, specifically the setbacks, the front side yard setback. The only other thing that I would note is that there was a modification of plans as applicants presented to ensure compliance with the ground coverage standard to make sure the minimum. So that's.
Following up on that, if I may just speak again, and I'm referring to your application. The variance type requested, it says side setback proposed / requested 10.5, but is that not 10.8?
I believe 10.8 is what's shown on the plans.
Okay, what's,
So sometimes in the entry of information, or if there's been a modification to sort of tweak the plan along the way. So the final plan that is provided through July 11th would be the one of record, and that is 10.8 of the side.
sorry, 10.8?
Yeah, so the side would result in a side yard of 10.8, which is wider, and a front yard setback of 20.9.
Okay.
Right, because the applicant did reduce the ground coverage, so they did not need a variance for it. And so I had told him that, sometimes the detail page, it's hard for them to get back and make changes to, so the plan is what he submitted.
Right, and I just want to make sure you have the record, because the applicant is not seeking or does not need to seek the ground coverage. But the two variances that are requested are accurate, it's just those numbers have changed slightly from what was on file originally. Okay, thank you. Any other staff comments?
I just wanted to do that. What he revised, that was the main person should go.
That's on the latest site.
Yes, I have conversations with Mr. Seeley and also with the engineers. I was surveyor.
Okay, and the record, you submitted materials in support of your application. The materials that have been filed by yourselves, part of the record, or constitute the record. Are there any documents that need to be read into the records? Sorry. No. No. Is there any public testimony? Is there any member of the public? It looks like there's not to me. So we will not need to ask for public.
Be admitted.
Excuse me?
Nobody to be admitted via Zoom either.
So the next question that faces us is if the public hearing should be closed this evening.
Correct. The only comment that I would make there is whether or not our applicants have any other information that you would like to gather and submit into the record for consideration. Once they close the public hearing, additional information can be submitted. So just to make sure people are clear on this.
I saw a note that you had tried to purchase or acquire additional land. Was that to the plans of the writing?
Correct.
And you were unsuccessful in that?
It's approximately. We don't say.
Okay,
So it's a little.
okay. Thank you.
Can I make a couple of statements or clarifications based on the things?
You can come forward. And
We just need the owl to pick it up.
it's also recording.
Yeah.
It's not just my ears.
Just a couple of clarifications I'd just like to state. I was just made, and I don't know if it was due to lack of due diligence, but that would also be on the engineer's part as well. I was just made aware of the 26.5.5 rendering the land under the water not eligible for the ground coverage calculation, which neither was my surveyor, who kind of took took control with all of the zone requirements and entry onto the plans. That resulted in a few of the revisions. In regards to the variances that I submitted, I did as much research as I could do on the county website, and those were the only documents I was able to find regarding the ones that were approved. So I think that was just due to, I guess it'd be lack of my access to anything regarding those. So when I went online and I was searching through the public records, those were the only piece of paper I could find for a variance. So that's why I didn't submit anything additional. And I think in regards to the hardships, I don't think there's any one individual hardship that leaves my property as unique. I think it's a combination of all, I guess, which would just make it very hard to create any sort of expansion. That was,
Thank you. Any other, I don't have any other comments. Anybody have any other comments? Now we can, I think we now move on to discuss whether the board has received enough information to reach a decision tonight as to whether we should close the public hearing. Like to get a consensus. Bert?
I think we've got, yeah, we've got enough information.
You have enough. Maureen? Terry?
Yes.
Okay, and I feel that I believe that I have enough. So since the consensus is that the board believes that it has enough information to close it, it's for a motion to close the public hearing in case numbers.
I think John's doing something about. Yeah.
Somebody was trying to open the door.
No, there's no, no.
Thank you for checking.
Sure.
I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing in case number ZBA 24.1.
Motion to close.
That's Terry.
Maureen.
And is there a second on the motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second it.
That's Bert. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Anyone? You want to do a roll call vote on this, or is it?
Not done, motion.
Okay. All in favor of the motion of closing the public hearing in case number ZBA 24-1? Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, the motion carries. So the public hearing is closed. The next step in the is deliberation and decision. For deliberation and then reaching a decision on the application for variance ZBA 24-1. 11 Lockhart Drive. The board has 65 days from today's date, which is the date of the close of the public hearing, to make a decision. So I will briefly summarize that this case is an application, contains an application, two variances. First, a side setback variance, whereas where 25 feet is required, the proposed requested variance is for a 10.8 foot side setback. And for the front setback, 35 feet is required. Variance requests a front setback of 20.9 feet. The documents are in the record, and the applicant had an opportunity to speak and to address some of the records that we discussed at the hearing, right, to the public hearing. And I would ask at this point if any of the board members have any further comments. Bert? Bob? Maureen? Terry?
None.
And I don't have any further comments. And I'd also like to know if the staff has any further comments. No? Yeah, I'd like to see if there's a consensus, if the board is ready to make a decision this evening on whether or not to approve the variance requested by the variances requested by the applicants. Bert?
I think we've got enough information. It's not that terribly complicated. Yeah,
You feel that you do?
I am,
Uh-huh.
I believe we have.
Maureen?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Okay, and I also believe that there is enough. That being the case, as we know from our previous discussion on the board, our staff, our hardworking staff, assists the board, as staff do on many boards. They assist in preparing a draft motion to approve. And as we all know from our training, I will just circulate this. Yeah, it takes one, please, that's the after school.
right.
And as we know, motions are proposed in the affirmative. A member can vote to approve or deny, but the practice that we follow is that the motion is granted in the form of to approve. And members are free to either vote yes to approve. So if the board wants to take a moment to look over the draft motion. And at this point, I would ask if anyone would want to make a motion to approve application ZBA 24.1.
I'll make a motion to approve ZBA 24-1 to grant the side setback variance, allow 10.8 feet side setback for 25 feet. To grant the front side setback 20.9 feet or 35 feet to required. Attached garage 11 Lockwood Drive, Connecticut, as shown on plans titled zoning. Location survey of Connecticut. Correction. Prepared by Catholic and Associate PC dated January 23rd, 2023, and revised July 11th, 2024, and adopt the following findings. The application has met the public notice hearing requirements pursuant to CGS chapter 124 8-7D and compliance with the maximum 50% ground coverage standard in the R30 zone district pursuant to section 26.11.14 is required and will be achieved by removing existing patio area shown on the plan of record. The proposed garage addition will not adversely affect the use of the neighboring property. The location of the existing home on property, within proximity of the pond, significant limited potential locations of addition. Strictly enforce setback requirements for this property result in hardship pursuant to section 13.2 of the zoning regulations.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second? For this? Maureen? And at this point, do any of the board members wish to engage in any further discussion before vote is taken?
I believe this property, in my eyes, is a little bit unique due to the steep. And I think he's done his due diligence to move the addition back as far as he can. He's even different coverage of ground coverage, he's willing to take up new patios that are fairly new. I believe it is somewhat unique compared to everybody else. I know you guys probably, your comments, you don't agree with me, but I do, because the property is steep in the back at the lines, and if you look at the top of the map. So I feel it is unique enough to warrant it.
Thank you. Maureen, do you have any discussion? Gary? I said no.
No, I don't have any other.
I will just add one point. I appreciate your input. I still am of the belief that there is nothing that is unique about this property that would warrant the granting of the variance. I think even for, board member thinks that there is something unique. I also think that the discrepancy between what is proposed, 10.8 feet and required 25, that is really close to the property line. Fairly big enough for, to see vehicle or something to get. And also similar to front setback, 20.9 there's a big difference between 20.9. But primarily, I don't believe that there is anything unique about the property, or that any hardship that is experienced by the Seawees, I believe is of a personal nature, rather than, a legal hardship. So I have no comments. So since we have a motion and a second, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Sure, second. Robert Corson,
Yes. Approved.
Bertram Schmitz,
Yes.
Maureen Noonan. Yes. Teresa O'Rourke,
No,
Lori Jaffe,
No.
the vote was 3 in favor, 2 against, the hardship of the variance failed to carry. A 3-2 vote.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, I'm moving on to item number 7 on the agenda, new business. A reminder of the 2024 mandatory training. Did the staff want to?
This is just a reminder, we're sending out, any kind of training opportunities that we find to meet the statutory requirements for ongoing education for the ZBA. So if folks are attending, people so far have been really great about giving us, a lot of their hours. For the next meeting, we'll go ahead and put together just a summary of where we are for everybody, so you know how many hours you have for your continuing education that's required. For board members, we'll go from there, but thank you to everybody who's participating, and we'll just keep trying to send, free or fairly, cheap elements. We do have a small budget for training, so if you find something that's in that $25 to $50 range and you would like to attend, let us know. We can't necessarily do that every time for everybody, but if there's something that's usually compelling to you, let us know. We can do that.
Abby, I just want to ask, Senator Junior, when was that affordable housing training? Did that already go live?
I think that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Was anyone able to attend that?
It was good.
Great, because that's the one piece that's required, and if you see that come around, it'd be the.
Training during the day is really hard.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, some of them are virtual, and sometimes if they're,
Virtual in the day.
yeah, but sometimes you can click and watch, after too.
So I will check that as. actually-
Or if you provide that for the data, to say, I certify that I attended it, that was part of this training in full. We self-certify these, and so as long as folks are watching the full piece, some come with certificates and some don't have any kind of practice, other than thank you for your registration. So, we're really relying on where we are.
And I've been in a lot of trainings where they'll say this will be available on our website, so that further people can, view it later, so like, yeah, so you
We'll make it easier.
exactly, so it's at your convenience.
Yeah.
If I could just make one comment also, even the staff has been very helpful about letting us know about training. But for those of us that might have signed up for one or more of those 4-part series, I sort of assume a meeting that starts at 12 and goes so close to 1 is an hour, but some of those certificates, as I pointed out to Christie, when you think it's an hour, it was like 30 minutes. So you might want to make sure you check to make sure that we have the right number of
Yes.
hours. So for example, the affordable housing, it went until 3:02, I noticed, but I think, Renata, is that her name, it said previously that it may not, depending on how long the question answers. I guess my point is, if you think you have 4 hours, we may not actually have 4 hours. So, and I
So
mean,
we'll add everybody's up and make sure that you at least know your snapshot of your status and when the deadline is to complete more.
so for example, this affordable housing, if it's only 45 minutes, we have to take a whole other class to get that extra 15 minutes.
Right.
So I don't know if that's how the staff interprets it, but anyway.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and it's the hours. I just thought you might want to think about, that in terms of offerings for next year, you know, to make sure that.
And when we can talk to the Connecticut APA, we can talk to the planning, group. We can also work through town attorney to see if we can do some sort of local, sort of specific training for this group, and so, for particular issues or questions. People have.
Because people are busy, with all their, many have busy work schedules and, you know, we want to make sure we can comply. The next item is correspondence. Is there any correspondence?
No.
No, okay. The next item is addition to agenda for the August 21st, 2024 hybrid regular meeting. Is there anything?
No, and at this time, the closing date for that August meeting is on Friday. Well, right now, we do not have any new applications.
Okay, number 10 adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I don't think we need any discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.